Hey everyone, so if you're building anything with data, or really anything with AI, you know that your project is only as good as the data you feed it, right? But what happens when you just don't have enough? Well, that's where this really cool solution called synthetic data comes in. We're going to dig into when it can give your project a serious boost and when it can, well, seriously break it.
In this quote, it just gets right to the heart of the matter. Create data when you don't have enough. I mean, that's the central promise here. And it speaks to one of the biggest bottlenecks for developers and data scientists everywhere, just not having the data you need. It's a powerful idea, right? If you can't find the data you're looking for, why not just make it?
You might be thinking, well, just go get more data. But it's not always that simple. The reasons a project might be data-starved are actually pretty complex. The real world throws some serious curveballs when it comes to getting your hands on good, clean data. So let's actually break down what those hurdles look like.
And all of this leads us to what we're going to call the data dilemma. It's this constant tension between what we need to build amazing AI and the messy, complicated reality of actually getting that data.
And look, these roadblocks can be absolute project killers. First, you've got massive privacy rules like GDPR that make it really tough to just grab and use personal data. Then, the data you do have might be full of sensitive user info that you just can't or shouldn't touch. And then you've got edge cases. Think about trying to train a self-driving car for, a freak snowstorm in Miami. You can't just wait around for that to happen to collect data. And sometimes, you're just starting out and your data set is just tiny. Any one of these can stop a project dead in its tracks.
So you're stuck. How do you move forward? This is exactly where synthetic data enters the picture, offering a way out.
Okay, so what is it? To put it simply, synthetic data is information that's artificially made up, not generated by real-world events. It's designed to have the same statistical feel as a real dataset, but, and this is key, without containing any of the original, sensitive information. You basically use it to fill in the gaps when your real-world data just isn't cutting it.
So, what's the big win here? Well, when you use it the right way, this isn't just a workaround. It can be a massive accelerator for building better models faster.
There are really three huge advantages. First, you can bulk up your training sets. You give your model way more examples to learn from, which often leads to much better performance. Second, you can create these incredibly tough evaluation sets to really stress test your model against those weird edge cases we were talking about. And maybe most importantly, you get to do all of this while protecting user privacy, because you're not actually using their real personal data.
But, and believe me, this is a big but, it is not a magic bullet. Synthetic data is a really powerful tool, and just like any powerful tool, it can be pretty dangerous if you don't handle it right. So it's time we talked about the hurts part of this explainer.
There are two major nightmares you need to worry about here. The first is bias amplification. Let's say your real-world data shows a historical bias against a certain group. A synthetic data generator might not only learn that pattern, but actually make it worse, creating even more biased data. So your shiny new AI model could end up being even more unfair than the system you started with. The second risk is data leakage. If it's not generated carefully, the synthetic data could accidentally leak patterns that allow someone to reverse engineer information about the original, sensitive data, which totally defeats the whole purpose of using it for privacy in the first place.
Okay, so given that the stakes are pretty high, how do we actually use this tool effectively and safely? We need a playbook. This next part is for all the builders out there who want to use this in the real world without falling into those traps.
Right now, the real sweet spot for synthetic data is on structured tasks. Think about things with really clear rules, like generating thousands of examples of valid street addresses to test a logistics system, or creating fake but totally realistic transaction data to test a fraud detection model. These are areas where the rules of the data are super well defined, and that makes it way easier to generate high-quality, reliable synthetic examples for training and especially for evaluations.
And this all boils down to a pretty simple three-step protocol. 1, have a crystal clear goal. Don't just make data for the sake of making data. 2, target those structured tasks we just talked about. And 3, and I cannot stress this enough, this is the most important rule of all, you have to mandate human review. You must have a human in the loop checking the quality, the relevance, and the safety of what's being generated. This is your non-negotiable safety net.
So we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and we've seen the how-to. Where does all that leave us? Let's bring it all together for a final verdict on synthetic data. So here's the bottom line. Synthetic data is not a simple yes or no kind of tool. It's more like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer.
Its real power is in its precise application. When you approach it with caution, with really clear goals, and with that all-important human oversight, it can be a truly transformative tool for getting past that data dilemma.
And that brings us to the final question I want to leave you with. Is this technology a revolutionary key that unlocks totally new possibilities in AI, or is it a hidden trap, just loaded with unseen biases and privacy risks? Well, as we've seen, the answer is kind of both. The outcome really depends entirely on the care, the caution, and the intention of the person who's using the tool.